Okay then. Despite the cold that I've just picked up over 4th of July weekend, that's not going to stop me from recording episode 125 here in the challenge series, or at least it shouldn't stop me. That's the hope. It might, but we'll see. Regardless, get used to a lot of clearing my throat. You're going to be hearing a lot of times, but you know, that's how it goes, I guess. Yeah, episode 125 will get started in a bit of a different location. I don't think the challenge series has visited the St. Croix circuit too many times in its very long runtime at this point. But that is where we get things started this week for the 675 category. With a very odd starting lineup, to say the least. And we are away from St. Croix. And I just find it very ironic that despite the grid being randomized, this race has 3 new vehicles taking part, I believe. And they started first, second, and third. Mind you, only one of them is actually still in the top 2. Mao Zhongling in the S15 there, one of, I think, 3 in the race. Got a really good start, and Siegfried Brandt is the first of the debuting cars. He adds his own S15 to the 675 category, and he is currently leading the way. Harvey Holtz brings a second vehicle to the fray, this time in the form of a Sierra Cosworth. And the one new driver in the race, that's kind of funny. Corin Wicks in a Toyota Crown, who is apparently running mostly for advertisement. It's not unheard of in the challenge series, but it's still interesting to see. Advertising, out of all things, a housekeeping firm. That seems like a very random thing to advertise on a race car, but nevertheless, Penny already has damage. So despite of clearly being one of the faster cars on the circuit right now, it's not helping much. Oh, there's our POV driver going for a wild fucking ride. So our POV driver, Pepper Mills in the NSX, has to go 3 wide with Senadina and Stout, well, didn't really feel like giving the NSX space, but Pepper didn't need it apparently. She just slid right on through. Literally. The car's at like a 40-degree angle and she still kept it from hitting a wall. Certainly a way to make an overtake. Barris's Neptune and Nozomi through the little, I guess this would be an S section, don't know what else to call it. Holt has fallen very far on this first lap, down to potentially 8th, as Barbara, who, mind you, started in, I believe, 19th, gets her way into the top third of the field. And with Penny pitting, it is now 6th, 5th, 4th, what? The Corvette has the most straight line speed in the category and puts most 715 cars to shame, and we're seeing exactly why there. 2 passes on a single straightaway, and it's not even the longest one on the track. Ahead of Tao and Wicks in the same straight. Meanwhile, Pepper Mills could barely make its way, or her way, past Noir and the TVR. They're both on the back row, mind you. They started 20th and 19th respectively, and Pepper is already in 7th, and Barbara is making her way up towards the podium runners. So, yeah. And in other news, Xingling apparently made a pass to take the lead away from Brandt somewhere along the way. It was actually on the last lap, on the bridge, and I just didn't even notice that this happened. But yeah, just got down the inside and out-dragged him towards the next sweeping corner. And now, some like a minute and a half later, she started to make a bit of a gap. Not a huge one, but a gap. Pepper is forced onto an interesting line by Rix, heading onto the bridge. Two British drivers trying to fight for 5th spot. I think Pepper is going to be able to brake later, though. Lighter car. Yep, swoops around the outside. I think even actually managed to get to the apex because of how much later he broke. Definitely has to get a good exit of that sweeping corner onto the back straightaway, which is actually shorter here than other layouts of the track. Which would be helpful for some drivers. Down the inside of Zhongling, bonus points. Apparently Barbara out-dragged Zhongling on said back straight, but Pepper is going to try and take that from her. Oh, a huge crossover administered there. Right at the curb, the NSX is lighter, and Pepper knows it. And through into the race lead goes the Honda driver. A little sideways there, but it doesn't matter. She's the new race leader, as we've just trusted the halfway point of the race. Just about. But we will when we cross the start-finish line in a couple of seconds. But don't think for a second that this race is over. Barbara's Corvette is stupid in a straight line, as we've seen countless times. She almost got down the inside right there as I spoke. And this cluster of vehicles behind me is growing. Noir and Tao have found their way into it. Brant seems to be kind of holding up a bit of traffic, shall we say. Nozomi also found her way into the group. Maki also right there with them. Even Harvey Holt is sort of very slowly making his way back up to that train of cars. But for now, it is a 6-car train following the Black Stallion Motorsports rep. And the top 3 are making the breakaway. Especially Barbara and Pepper. Zhongling not so much. She's just kind of on an island, but the top 2 are getting away. Even if Barbara did not really make that corner too great. Compared to the back straight, and oh boy, yeah, now you see the closing speed. Archetypal power versus handling argument between these two. Pepper representing cornering grip, while Barbara representing sheer horsepower. For a track like this, I reckon that the advantage goes to handling, really. This train continues to get more and more frantic. As we looked away to watch Barbara try and track down the leader, move on the outside for a debuting driver. That actually worked. It took a bit to sink in. But rest assured, eventually the crown does come out on top at the end of this corner here. Yuan left on the outside lane, and Phil RX-8 Tao tried to sneak her way in too, and actually she does do that. She has to hold around the outside here though, which won't be easy to do. But it looks like she will maybe manage it. She might have the run off there. No. And besides, Noir is going to just dust them both, so it doesn't really matter. The TVR is very good in a straight line, not quite to the extreme of Barbara's C3 Corvette, but still more than enough to put those RX-8s away, despite Yuan's best efforts. And Wix is stalking the S15, well, one of the two. She's already passed. The other one's a little ways up the road, and even she's nowhere near the lead 2. Yuan desperately trying to get back at the TVR. There just is no use. TVR just has so much more power than those RX-8s do. Maki and Nozomi are mixing it up in the group too, but nobody else is really near enough. Holt did have some momentum going, but had to start fighting Vert and Senadina and lost all speed. Meanwhile, we'll see the TVR on display again, more straight line shenanigans. dusting the crown over the stripes. And I actually threw Wix off her line. Maki snuck down the inside too. She's picked her way through with like 4 cars to get to P6, even passing Nozomi along the way, along with both RX-8s. Those RX-8s are not having a great day. For what were originally about 4th and 5th in this group, are now down to 9th and 10th. Battle at the front, still kind of holding station. Barbara is not really able to make any inroads on Pepper in any meaningful way. Zhongling is actually losing ground, and Brant is catching back up to her as well. And he's bringing some friends along, we'll say. Noir and Maki. He's brought 2 Cinderes with him. Didn't hear that line from me. Noir is trying to pass. That's preventing Maki from doing anything with it. Noir's efforts fail, but you should... Oh, she might not be able to keep Maki behind. I don't know which of these two is better in a straight. They're both gonna dust the S15 though. S15s, for that matter. Zhongling is not that far away. Maki once again boxed in as Noir tries to sneak ahead of the S15. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead is just about settled, but looks like that's gonna go the way of Pepper Mills. Although apparently it wasn't as simple as I make it sound, as Barbara did get all the way alongside, but being that she has a little bit of doormat syndrome, she decided not to force the issue into that kink, which seems to have ultimately cost her any shot of taking the win, because that was her best opportunity to do so. Noir clears Brant at the end of the straight. Maki tries to sneak her bumper in, but can't find the lane. Nozomi also apparently overtook Korin in the background. I'm not exactly sure when that happened, but it's a safe bet it happened on that back straightaway. And as we head through the last turn, Pepper Mills has resisted Barbara's efforts. She will grab the W from St. Croix. Barbara 2nd and Zhongling 3rd. Possibly. Noir is right there, but I don't think she's going to have the time to out-drag the S15. She is not. 4th place for the TBR. Wix 8th on debut from starting 3rd. Whoops. Not the most spectacular performance, but it could be worse. She could be Harvey Holt, who ended up finishing, like, 14th or something. "13th, okay, not that far off, really." Both Vert and Blonde got ahead of him after he looked away. But, yeah, Pepper Mills is victorious. Barbara's 2nd, Zhongling 3rd. I think Brant holds on... No, he does not. He does not hold on to 5th. He ends up with 6th place. Maki out-dragging him on the straightaway, but not terrible for a new car. 8th, not the worst for a new driver, either. Considering, you know, not exactly the easiest competitors to deal with, and a track that's unfamiliar. Maybe that kind of helped, though. Nobody really knows this track any better than Korin did, so it's hard to really say exactly for sure. And the second race of this week takes us to the ever-familiar Laguna Seca. Definitely didn't just almost call it Monster Raceway. A little outdated there, I'd say. This is not Gran Turismo 4. Regardless, the 640 class will be racing today. A couple more debuting cars. And, well, I wouldn't want to say it's a new driver, but it's not an old one either. They've not been around. It's awkward. Not awkward, it's complicated. Word. And we are green from Laguna Seca. the tightest, thinnest starting for straightaway there is, well, gives some rise to a bit of bottlenecking, which I completely expected. It happens every time, so me, as the PRV driver, has already made up 9 places before we even get out of Andretti hairpin. And I get a 10th by outdragging Tyler on the exit. Voices starting to go. Shouldn't really be surprised. So there's one of the new cars. Diedrich Hammer brings a 190E to the 640 category. The second vehicle of that type. And it's bottoming out. Oh, good lord. Hold on to it, Diedrich. Clearly some tuning bugs to iron out there. Where was I? Not down here. Okay. The starting grids have been pretty forgiving to the new drivers and cars today. As the other one of note is the return of a driver who was absent for a while and nearly running me off the circuit for good measure. Ignacio Cortez returns with a restored Firebird TA. As in fact, it has to drive to the pits for damage. Probably something to do with lap 1, turn 1, if I was to guess. No hope for that R31 on the straightaway. Just got dusted by 3 cars on one straight, and Laguna Seca's not a long straightaway either. It is an Admin 1-2-3. And Thrasher, to the surprise of very few people, has a pretty comfortable lead at the front at the moment. Just off from looking at the track map, he's like 6 seconds ahead of me and 3 ahead of Vittori and Challenger. However, it was not long before I arrived. So a really good kink for me and very uncharacteristically aggressive braking at the corkscrew. And despite her best efforts to basically play games with me, she could not keep the RX-7 at bay. My second race in this car, it did relatively well in the first one, so I was hopeful it would be able to handle a more demanding circuit. Kyoto Park is more of a driver's track, but Laguna Seca is a test of the car and the driver. Kyoto Park, other than that one downhill section that can sometimes throw some cars off, it's not really a test of your vehicle, it's a test of you. So Laguna Seca, if you come into this race half-cocked, the corkscrew, or the kink, or the sausage curbs, or the corner after the corkscrew, one of those is going to send you packing. It's pretty easy. Also, you have a bit of a muscle car battle brewing for the bottom podium spot. As the 2 lead admins, Cindery's kind of the third one in that regard, are, well, we're about to settle our dispute here at the corkscrew, I reckon. Got another good run through the kink, even better than a Group 4 car, somehow. However, I've seen past history. I choose life, so I just back out of the corkscrew. And I think this is about where Thrasher actually bottoms out. And just kinda lets me by. I don't know if he realizes, I think his plan was to try and let me go ahead and try to apply pressure from the back. But I don't exactly crack that easily. The muscle cars grow even closer together, now basically nose to tail for third place, although Vittori has the advantage on a straight, to say the least. Liza is kind of on her way. Also, Mio Kaminaga is running 7th after, I believe, starting 19th. She doesn't show up often, but she does seem to do well when she does decide to join us. So it would seem. We skip ahead to the 4th lap, and this is the final lap, I'm stupid. We skip ahead to the last lap, And nothing's really changed, all told. Like, literally nothing. This is the closest battle on the track. It looks like Ty has a run on August. And we'll go down the inside of the Celica. They almost collide, but I think August kind of cut McIntosh a break there. The Subaru will get into 8th. But still quite a distant shout from what the other admins are doing, locking out the podium as things stand at the moment. Although, yeah, Nitsuri's job is not done. Cortez and Holt are still right there. The corkscrew is the best place to pass, but we'll see if either one of these two feel like it. Seems like that's a no. Nittery actually broke really late. And nearly got up to the back of Thrasher. Whoa! Okay then. That was a cornering speed difference. I think Thrasher was... I don't know what he was doing there. He must have got like super offline and threw off his exit or something. I don't know what the heck. I didn't really notice that. I was too busy trying not to spin out myself. The suspension wasn't perfectly set up, but it was good enough to take the victory at Laguna Seca. Thrasher second, Nittery third, completing the admin podium lockout. Cortez returns with a 4th place finish and a little bit of bumper damage. I guess he got into Nittery as well at some point. Holt 5th. Rises 6th. Tyler, the lowest of the admins, still 8th. He didn't start that well. He started like 11th, so even he was doing some work. He didn't quite have the benefits of starting 1st and or I believe 4th, where Nittery started the race for him. So, you know. The starting grid seemed to really benefit Thrasher here at Laguna Seca. If I didn't know any better, I would think it was on purpose. But it's obviously not. That's just not how random works. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Not really if it's Tuesday as I'm recording this, but regardless, Wednesday's Week 25 race takes us to the Canadian Rockies for a Wake Louise event. I'm surprised I didn't screw that sequence up, considering my speech difficulties at the moment. It's just hoarse. Really, my throat is just hoarse and congested. It's not really actually sore like it'd normally be when I'm sick, which is kind of a surprise, I must admit. Makes me sound older and a little more gruff. But, kind of like somebody who would be trekking in the Rockies, for that matter. But regardless, yeah. Snow race, I don't even know, joke. We decided to go for rolling starts, so as to make things a little more safe, with rear-wheel drive cars on the grid. As the difference in ability to leave the starting grid has caused some stack-ups, and the occasional collisions. Public safety is a huge concern for vehicles in the special conditions categories, since they are literally reinforced and basically built literally just built different, like not even as a joke. There are a couple of new drivers in this race as well, though. The first is the very interesting pick from Crystal Cross, who brings a Beetle to the special conditions category. A Beetle. Yeah. Immediately getting turned by fucking Katamatsu nearly. That's not gonna help matters. Taking the number 7, I guess 7J, as soon as it was vacated by Vert getting totaled. And then the other new driver of this race is Mike Stewart. Certainly, not the most memorable name, let's be honest. Basically, just kind of like a second me. We're both from Minnesota, we're both using trucks, both have experience in the snow. His gears are certainly shorter than mine, though, I'll say that much. And I'm currently leading the way over Ryza, who was the pole sitter, but that Peugeot's straight line performance is not much compared to the 700 horsepower inside my converted trophy truck. And it's obviously not much compared to Mike Stewart either, who's going to do much the same as I and out-drag the Peugeot heading towards the first corner. Or he's going to try a bit of a bounce for the F-150. He's going to try and sweep all the way around the outside, which is not easy to do, but kind of pinches Riza on the inside of the corner and forces her to basically give up her exit so as not to crash into him. And our POV driver, who I've neglected to mention this entire time as I've been introducing the new drivers, Nico Yazawa, name needs a really introduction here, hasn't had the best run of things in the dirt class, though. As much as she's been prolific in the series, basically everywhere else, the special conditions category has been about the only thing she's done that she doesn't do particularly well. She is getting along pretty well at the moment, though. Up to third place at the end of lap 3. Now only having to conquer 2 more pickup trucks to be the race leader. And she's pretty close to the first one now. Right on the back of Mr. Stewart. Right up to the back of the truck a couple of turns later, pulls to the side, and we'll just outbrake it into the final hairpin. This is obviously the short track again. We tend to use this more than the long version, and certainly more than the tri-oval. No special reason why we don't use the long course as much. I think the main reason is just because this feels like more of a rallycross circuit, being shorter. And if we're gonna have a rallycross grid, it may as well have a rallycross track. Nico's approach to this first turn is very different from everybody else's. That'll come into play again later, as she does get to the lead right here, in spite of us coming together a bit. You know, we can bang fenders, obviously. I was just saying that a minute ago. These cars are built more durable than the road track fenders. They sort of have to be. They're racing in, like, snow and shit, you know? Thrasher's also McGrady's. While he's not a complete hazard like he was the last time he showed up at this circuit, he's not doing great, but he's not doing the speed limit either, at least. Cross sitting in 13th after getting nearly turned by Katamatsu earlier, who himself isn't doing great. Having to skip back in time a little bit to look at Mr. Stewart, who's running third, hanging right here with myself and Nico, and, well, I may have missed my braking point a little bit. Got a little mirror. Yeah, I did a bit of mirror driving, and I'm seeing Mike Stewart right there. And I kind of miss the braking point, also paranoid of walking the brakes, and apparently Nico wasn't. I just drive straight into the back of her, knock her out of the way. Mike runs into the back of me for good measure. I think actually both of us kind of pulling Nico out of the way. Yeah, I get into the back of her because Mike closes in on me, and then Mike just kind of slides up and tail whips her, so yeah, you can hear from the horn, Nico wasn't exactly satisfied with her service there. And tries to give it back to Stewart, but kinda, well, I don't really know what that was. I don't really know how to describe what that was. Just continues to flash the lights at me, because obviously that was my fault that all that happened. I'm the one that was mirror driving like an idiot. I'm the one that said that, and I'm the one that said that I don't crack easily at Laguna Seca, but... Well, I don't know this guy, but he seems to have a little more experience racing in snow than even I do, so... He literally calls himself the Snow Spider. It's kind of hard to really refute that, you know? Well, I win the drag race, but Nico wins the race on the brakes. At first. And then we both just kind of did a bit of a dick swinging contest, so to speak. as far as who wants to brake later, who wants to put less pressure on the brake so as to have the advantage into the corner. We both kept repeatedly changing our style of braking just to try and outdo the other. Eventually Nico wins the long game though and gets back to the lead. And I'll try not to hit her again. No promises though. Mike is a little bit further back, so I don't exactly have to worry about that, at least. Besides this battle for the lead though, the rest of the field is pretty pedestrian. Other than Kanematsu doing whatever the hell he does, and nearly running over Melissa Weiss. Chica's not had a good day. She does not like this place. I feel like that's worth mentioning. Gero doesn't really like it either, but she's a little more adaptable. Chica just hates the cold. And also hates the snow. I guess it makes sense. She lives in a basically tropical, like, coastal town. The entire purpose of the city she comes from is just ocean. So the fact that she doesn't do super well in the snow doesn't necessarily surprise me. Not like Tokyo is exactly a winter wonderland either, but Nico is very clearly a little more adaptable than Chica is. That's not saying much, but Nico's adapted even to myself and to the new guy, Stuart. And she'll head off the last turn, and rapidly and bouncily, is that even a word? She will jump her way across the finish line, making a 59-second lap. Actually crosses the stripe. Jesus. Me second, and Mike Stewart third on debut. I believe he started there, but still. Impressive run for the new guy. And the other new driver, Crystal Cross, kind of got snuffed out a little early when she got barged aside by fucking Kanematsu. So, a mere 12th place. Leader of the rear-wheel drive cars, which, I mean, they were never going to do well on snow. They usually fare better on dirt. A little bit. Even with the rolling start rule change to try and give them a chance, it seems to have not done enough, per se. It is a pretty solid bit of rain here from the Tokyo Expressway. It's by no means torrential, but it's going to have an impact on tonight's race. The fourth race of the week is the 600 class at Tokyo's East Loop. And traction will be at a premium, as there are very few four-wheel drive cars in this category. There are like two, and I don't think either of them are in this race. And you're going to want traction, obviously, because, in case you weren't aware, that's a pretty long straightaway we're looking at the end of here. We are away from Tokyo Expressway. The inside of the tunnel may be dry, but don't be fooled for even a second. That's not going to last. Nice to see the two siblings hanging out here. I can guarantee one's going to be better than the other. And there we are. We enter the realm of the water, and yeah, precipitation is pretty big here. Moisture pretty easily reaching the 40% mark, dictating the use of intermediate tires. I guess I'm thinking you don't have to, but it's... Oh, yeah, that's why. Rise loses under braking. That's some pretty big damage to that 208. And just imagine, it'd be so much worse if she wasn't on intermediates. Be hydroplaning and stuff. There are... Actually, I think there's only the one new car. Yeah. And it's leading the way. Stephanie Kaiser. With her grandfather's Porsche 356. Currently leading the race. But Akira Taniguchi is right on her chrome bumper and looking to change that. And speaking of chrome bumper, Barber just made her way into fourth, around the outside of Pepper, possibly, indeed. So maybe a little bit of vindication after St. Croix at the start of the week. Yeah, something like that's not going to be super stable in this condition, that's for sure. Now we've got a War of the Classics on our hands. 1956 Porsche, 1967 Toyota, and I believe, 53 Corvette. So, 3 oldies. I'm sweating with the oldies here. I'm sweating in the oldies. I'm not cultured, I don't know the names of these things. Regardless, old cars, fighting basically door to door through the hairpin, making even a slight bit of contact just there. And in case all of that's not enough, there's also a 69 Camaro that just made its way into 4th place. The 356 is unsurprisingly pretty weak in a straight line. 206 horsepower in that Porsche is not enough for this straight. Barber leads the end of the lap, but Acura in that 2000 GT is absolutely flying. 165, 166 out of the tunnel. While Barber's momentum stalls at about 158, and even the 356 is tailgating her, so the Corvette's gears are clearly a bit too lengthy here. Acura is not bound by such limitations, and I think tracked 175 at the braking line. I can't even say, like, oh, Barber has the advantage of being lighter. No. All 3 of these cars are pretty freaking light. 356, obviously, the lightest at, like 3/4 of a ton, I think. If that. Actually, I think it's like 600 pounds. Barber's probably the heaviest of the 3, which is probably why she didn't get the same straight line speed. It's close between her and the 2000 GT, but the 2000 GT also has aero, which makes it even stranger that the Corvette is the weaker one in a straight line. I don't really know what the hell, personally, but it's not stopping Barbara from actually getting ahead of him in the middle sector. What the Corvette might lack in cornering grip, more than making up for it, is Barbara, and just sheer bravery. Not that I'm so surprised. Even if she's slinging this thing around the track, basically, looking like a dirt car. Like a 410 Sprinter, I guess probably a late model, considering it's a car with fenders. And that is basically the story of the race, as far as I understand. It's basically just these 3. Noir is trying to get up to the back of the 356, but she doesn't have the straight line speed herself either. Netgear's on an island, and Emi Barzaki is holding up the hordes. The almighty hordes. Oh, you here? Dexter Rollins up to... Never mind, Allie just took care of that. I was beginning to wonder how we got there. And then Ellie missed her braking point like a doofus and ran right into the back of the 8.6. So, so much for all that progress he made. They're back to jobbing for you, Dexter. Acura reclaimed the lead, and with a straight line performance like that, it's really not hard to see how or why. It makes you realize that this category is really not that far off 643. Noir actually does have about the straight line speed, just not everything else. And then we got a bit of a battle of front-wheel drive. Shoji is going to get to 6th place in the little Civic. Neither one of them particularly impressive on a straight, not even compared to this. Another vehicle that could have raced at the front and been fitting right in with those older cars. Whoa, why is I nearly spitting out there on the way into the corner? Let's look back to the lead battle. Barber just ships it at the little chicane here and gets back to the lead with basically a sector and a half left to race. Only got one more hairpin in the final straightaway. Barber's gonna have to get through here like spotlessly though, because Acura is gonna make up a lot of time on the straightaway alone. Aggressive braking too. He is actually gonna get pretty far away with that. Relatively planted on exit, considering the car. That could be enough. I think Barber has managed to eke out the victory. The straightaway will give us the answer. 2000 GT is moving though, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. It is not. Barbara Page grabs the W in the drenched Tokyo Expressway. Akira's second and passes her under the cooldown segment. And that is a drag race. Hang on. I said earlier that Noir didn't seem to have the straight line speed, but a missed shift from Kaiser. And that is going to be mighty close. Huh? Huh? Wow. I mean, it's hard to say because of the different body styles between the two cars. But I believe the game labeled this a tie. But, like, I feel like that should have gone to Noir. Like, her car is sticking out ahead. Like, obviously so. But no, Stephanie hangs on to third place with the first race of her grandfather's 356. Christ. Down to the wire for third. Not exactly kind of the same case for the lead, for that matter, so close finishes all around at the top of the running order here. It is time for Chaos. The roulette race for this week brings us to a high-speed ring. And believe me, I would know that this race was Chaos. I was there. Roulette races are always going to be a little bit chaotic, but at a track like this, it's only multiplied just due to the nature of the place. And how on edge the whole circuit really can be in some of the faster categories. It really does feel, well, true to its name, but sometimes to a fault, if I'm being perfectly honest. We've already had multiple crashes here, obviously, so we've had to start using the reverse layout because the forwards layout was deemed unsafe. So do with that information as you might. We are away from the ring of high speeds. Don't know. Don't ask. And the onboard driver is myself in my engine swapped Silvia S14. And the high lane works wonders, as it usually does here. Interesting note about this race, all 10 members of Mercury Racing were on the grid, so... we're generally 2 per category. Me and Kotori were the 2 750 class cars in the race. But we were both being led by debuting Ferruccio Fidanzi in a Pagani Huayra. Or Huayra? Huayra? I don't know. That is, I believe, the only debuting car in the field. There were a lot of the Fidanzi family were here. You can see I'm in hot fucking pursuit. These two are about to battle for the lead. They don't know what's coming. Or, really, I didn't know what was coming as I get absolutely destroyed by the Pagani. And then Nico can't see through the smoke. She piles right into me. So, long story short, we had an immediate red flag. Bruh. And as if your brother hitting me wasn't enough, Fernando. I just insult to injury at that point. Yeah, there's clearly a lane here, right? Like, I mean, I've gotten my car there, and Ferruccio just moves over. There was space between him and Kotori, so it's not that. And I get turned across both their noses and find myself at a wall at 160. Slide back across both of them, bounce on the outside wall, find Nico's LFA, which got also very heavily impacted by that. Worse than me, almost. Despite her best efforts, she brought the speed down to 70, but even her engine still took a mighty whack from that. And then we have Joe Moore ignoring the yellow flag that's supposed to be active for a stricken car. He drives straight into Maki's back bumper. And then this guy shows up and I don't know. But yeah. It might be plainly obvious, but the S-14's not going anywhere with that damage. And that's a red flag, so we'll be back for the restart. Fucking donkeys. We return to the green flag racing from the Ring of High Speeds. And, brother. Well, now down to an 18-car grid. My S-14 is absolute fucking toast. And Nico, as a precautionary measure, took her LFA behind the wall, so they say. Hers could still be salvaged, which is exactly why we did that. My S-14 is not, though. Now it is up to our new POV driver, Kotori, who had a pretty big setback from the damage she had to fix, because obviously my car got spun across her. Same thing goes for Ferruccio's Pagani and other drivers that had to fix damage at the very start of the race. It is a little way though. Yeah, Kotori is wasting no time in trying to make up for her losses. Already up to third. Farah, Fidanzi, and Ambrosio Reyes fight across the start-finish line to end lap 1. This is the battle for the overall and obviously category lead, and it is rather tight between the Viper and the Aventador, but it looks like the Fidanzi driver is going to sneak ahead. Better acceleration on the four-wheel drive Aventador versus the Viper. But the MZ-20 is approaching rapidly. Ferruccio having just passed his brother in the lower category, the MC-20. Despite being capable of reaching the 750 class, Fernando runs his in 715. And instead, the current race leader is the representative of Scuderia Fidanzi in the top class. But it might be usurped by a different Italian machine in just a split second, as Kotori, with a huge run through the last turn, is going to dust both the Lambo and the Viper and get to the lead with just 2 minutes 20 into the race. And she's using that high lane trick to perfection, the MC-20 with enough mechanical grip to hack it. Not by much, but enough. Riza takes the lead from Ellie in the 715 category, with Ferruccio quickly approaching in Pagani. Francesca leading the 675 category in this Testarossa and kind of hanging on to the back of her brother in the car in a category ahead. And even ahead of Joe Moore, who is in the 715 category in that Demon there. Ponyo is leading 640. Makes sense. Her and Umi are the only 2 left in that category in this race. The only 2 that even started it to begin with. And Nozomi is leading the 600 class, which only has 3 cars in it. This race's field was sort of top-heavy. There was a higher quantity of vehicles in the higher classes compared to the lower ones, and considering where we're racing, perhaps that shouldn't be too much of a shock. People are going to want to drive the fast cars at high-speed ring, as it just makes sense. Like, Kotori's not escaped yet. Reyes almost snuck his bumper there. She got a little complacent, I think, but I suppose that'll be a wake-up call to probably kick it into gear here in a sec. I don't usually use the high lane here, but Kotori does, and she'll use it well, and get some space, and Farah Fidanzi overtaking the Viper out of the same corner will only help to gain her more space. They're not done fighting though. Reyes shoots to the outside, and takes it right back. They continue nose to tail down the front straightaway. 236 apiece between the pair of them. They're both pushing their cars practically beyond their limitations to try and outdo the other, as Kotori with an interesting line to turn one, but still more or less makes it work. Fidanzi gonna try and get it back. These two have been slinging it today in the aftermath of the disaster that was the first lap, or the first attempt at this race. The cause of which is slowly making his way up, just past the 715 leader in Plymouth Stout. But the battle for the top category is still very close. He's going to have to do a lot to get up to them in time, and I don't think he's going to be able to. A bit of lap traffic didn't really change anything. All it did was spread the top three cars out a bit, which certainly benefited Kotori. Makes sense, two of the lap down cars were her own teammates in the form of Nozomi and Rin. So it makes sense that they would help her. They didn't get in anybody else's way, but they just were more hasty to get out of hers. The next instance of it is right there as well. That is also a teammate. That's Umi. But, Umi really wasn't caught at a great time. She's allowed to make the corner her own way. He slowed Kotori up a tiny bit doing that. Didn't really affect the other two, but they were about to affect one another. By the look of it. I guess not, but it looked like Reyes could have tried for a pass there, but he wasn't as close as I thought. Kotori won an exit, though. Again, or not. Okay, depth perception, please. On board with the Viper driver as he tries to stick with the back of the Aventador. Slipstream pain massively here. 236. Full braking for turn one. And the Aventador was drawing even with that at the end of the gears. Kotori only getting about 224, and that's with later braking and a better exit out of the last turn. So, such is the power of Slipstream, as they're both drafting each other. Reyes drafting Farah Fidanzi, and Fidanzi drafting Kotori. So the Slipstream seems to be worth at least 10 miles an hour, if not more. The MC20 doesn't have the best power in the category. It's like a mix between power and handling, which is relatively rare in this category. Most cars are either maximum power with no cornering grip, take a peek at Reyes, or maximum grip with no power. Take a look at any Porsche in the top category. Based on the race timer down there, 9 minutes have passed, so this should be the final lap. I don't think anybody's pulling a sub-minute lap time here, even with how fast these cars are. Kotori kind of cutting down. She's doing what they call diamonding the corner, or diming, one or the other. That's her trick for turn one, which is certainly an interesting approach. But it's obviously working. She's a handful of corners away from taking the W. Should not have any interference from lap cars. And even if we do, it's more Mercury with Haneo and Honoka running and sort of information, not really. Interesting that Haneo is even this close to Honoka since they're not even in the same category. Everything else has been pretty much evenly spaced. We got a bit of a memories here. 9th versus 10th. I don't know if that's going to come to pass. So the lap cars were there. They aren't going to affect anything. They're going to leave an entire lane for the leaders. Kotori is going to grab the victory at High Speed Ring, and that was another battle to the finish line for second place this time around. I didn't actually see who won that battle, so we're going to rewind and look at it. They both past the lap cars relatively fine. Reyes tries to pull out at the very last second and gets boxed in behind Honoka, so I guess the lap cars did affect the outcome of the race. And by a couple of inches, Fire Fidanzi will hang on to second place. The steering inputs that Reyes had to make to not run into the back of Honoka made all of the difference. On debut, Ferruccio Fidanzi not only wrecks my goddamn S14, but also manages to get dead last in the category. Only barely beating out Riza, who wins the 715 category. As I was saying, and then we have Francesca taking the victory in the 675 class with Maki right there in tow. Actually, all four of the 675 class cars are relatively close together, except for Honoka. Hanyo will win the 640 class with exactly one opponent in it, and Nozomi ends up winning the bottom 600 class in a relatively close battle between Rin and Thrasher. Kotori, yeah, victorious. Get it, Kotori, victorious. Ugh. Don't quit your day job, Riker. What do you mean you don't have a day job? This is my day job. Shit.